So I will call this meeting to order at 7:04 p.m. And as usual, I have to read the statement of the open meeting law. So bear with me. In accordance with the governor's order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A, section 20, relating to the 2020 novel coronavirus outbreak, the December 1st, 2020 at 7 p.m. public meeting of the Norfolk Recreation Commission shall be physically closed to the public to avoid group congregation. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and send a comment or question to the chair via the chat function. Anne is the host of the meeting, so I think she has that capability to see hands raised and such. Submitted text comments, questions may be read into the record at the appropriate points in the meeting. If they are in line with the town's public comment policy, the meeting will be recorded for future rebroadcast by Norfolk Community Television. For more information on getting connected and using the video conference features, people can visit the Norfolk Town website. All right, so just one thing before we get going. I don't normally do this, but we have a big agenda tonight, and I don't want to run too late tonight, so just gonna respectfully ask us to keep it concise on each topic, and also for Mark note-taking, I'll sure appreciate that as well.
Yes,
so,
I will.
I don't think any of us want to be here till midnight, so let's do our best we can to keep things concise. So with that, so we have minutes for October 20th and 27th. We still don't have the September 21st minutes, so does anyone need an extra second to read those, or? All right, then I will make a motion to accept the October 20th and 27th meeting minutes as written.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So it says on the agenda to review those minutes. We just don't have them though?
Which, the September
The September
21st?
21st.
So Charlie's supposed to put those together. I
Okay.
chatted with him about them. I'll have to chat with him.
Okay, I'm asking because I'm making sure that I don't have them and I haven't.
No.
Okay, all right.
No, those are his, and he had talked to me about it, because he wasn't able to get them together, so.
Okay, that's
I'll-
fine. I just didn't want to be having, have something that I didn't realize I had.
And my notes reflect it's just the 20th and 27th, so.
Yep, just the 20th and 27th. So that motion was passed unanimously. And I will put on my notes here for September 21st next time. Right. So that brings us to citizen speak. I don't see any members of the general public here, so we can move through that. So programming updates and remote learning centers. Anne, any information on that?
So we are busy. We are mostly busy on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. We have some kids that have special services and they are going back to school full time. So we're going to lose a couple of people on Monday. So we have paid for Mondays. There are only 3 Mondays in December. We've paid for those at the Grange, but unless we get more people at the Grange, right now we could be down to 3 or 4. We will probably not be continuing at the Grange on Mondays. We have room here and we'll bring those 4 people to this location. But everything is going pretty well. We have, unfortunately, we've gotten good at having to deal with people that are being informed that they are close contacts. We have not had any COVID cases. But I think, as you may all know, there are COVID cases at the school, which has shut down a few classrooms. And we have kids that have been told that they are close contacts, not many. There's a new policy in place, and that is you quarantine for 14 days, or you can quarantine for 10 days if you get tested on the 8th day and you have a negative test, and then they can return. So that's what we spend a lot of our day doing. But other than that type of thing, which things are going well. I am looking for to possibly have some gymnasium type activities for ages 4 through 6. I found a place in Walpole that doesn't have a full-size gym, but it has a large enough area for about 12 kids. They have, and they meet every COVID standard. They have a ventilation, good ventilation, and they are a gym. They hold regular programs there. So that we may be able to move forward with that as well. So that would be nice to have a place for 4 to 6-year-old kids to run around inside.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Where was that?
It's in Walpole.
Walpole.
It's in Walpole.
Okay.
So that's where we stand as far, and we're working on some art classes, but that's pretty much the sum of what's going on with programming, unless anyone has questions.
Any questions? All right, so drive-in movies. Kim, I know you have some more unfortunate news to spread to the group on this topic.
Yep. So the MBTA, as we know what happened, that was weeks ago and that was declined. So then I emailed Dr. Mobley and I didn't hear back from her for a week or so, but in the interim, we had discussed the Cracker Barrel Fair parking lot. So I ended up making a call over to there. The guy who used to handle the position had left. Found out that Chrissy Hatchett, she now runs the development office. Well, she's like a secretary, or she's the administrator there, I believe. And I let her know we were looking to do, and she brought it to the group. And they basically said, unfortunately, we're not doing anything because the COVID cases are increasing and we just can't risk leasing or renting out any. She said normally it would be wonderful, we'd be so happy to give you guys the whole lot, but we can't. So then I did hear back from Dr. Mobley subsequently while I was still in conversations with her, and she said as long as we spoke to the Department of Health and got an approval from them, that she could present it basically. So then I talked with, I called the Department of Health and I spoke with a guy, I can't remember his name. I have his name in my phone, sorry. He basically said that, he would need so much more information than I was able to give him. He wanted a completely written document of everything from porta potties to how many people to how many, it was a lot. And he said, and even still, if you get that back to me, I still can't guarantee I'm going to be able to do this. He said, right now, it's just not a good time. The COVID numbers are increasing. It's risky. So I sort of putting it out to everybody. Here we are. It seems that it's been a 6-week project for me to try to get it to go. And with the failure of the MBTA parking lot and then the failure of the Cracker Barrel Fair a lot, and now it just seems pretty entailed. So I wanted to put it out to you guys to see, at this point, is it something that we still want to keep working on? Because I'm happy to do so. Kathy, I just don't know at this point.
So my opinion is, it just doesn't feel like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Or anyone's going to let it happen unless it's on at this point. I think
I'm kind of discouraged after the Cracker Barrel Fair because Christine was so lovely, and I know Anne, you spoke with her too, and
She really was. She really wanted to
she really wanted to do it, and that location would have really been ideal.
Yeah.
And now having to go through the school, Dr. Mobley was very happy to help, but sort of you're going to have to go through the Department of Health, and I don't think it's going to be a go. She was very happy to accommodate and do whatever. And I did follow up, but I just feel like right now it's been a lot of no's, and it might be something that perhaps we revisit. Maybe when the COVID numbers decline, I don't know.
Maybe when the weather starts to get a little warmer.
Yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes things happen for a reason. You certainly
I gave it,
Dude,
I gave
every
it
avenue
my-
there was.
I gave it my all. I did. I called everybody. I was yay. And then I thought it was going to be good, but it didn't work out with the Cracker Barrel Fair. So that was sort of a big downer. But you know what? I made a lot of great contacts for us. And I think that's really important, you know, for the spring, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, spring or summer next year, based on what I'm seeing with vaccines and other
Yeah.
stuff, maybe, next summer is a good
I think,
time.
you know what? For next summer, I would be happy to, we could do something at the Cracker Barrel Fair, and I'll get something going on the summer nights. And I think that now that I have a contact at that lot there, I just think it would be, yeah.
Yeah,
So,
well, it seems like most of the feedback you got was, we'd love to do it, just not this year. So I think it would be
which
rinse and
obviously
repeat.
makes sense.
Yeah, and people
It's
seem to be
risky.
wrapped up in their routines right now, one way or another. So I mean, there's been a few things that people have put on that have gone well. So yeah, I appreciate all the work you've done on this, Kim. It's not easy, and it's
I was
certainly
hoping, but it's okay. We'll try again in the spring.
all right.
I have to say, I do agree with the fact that you made some really good contacts, and
Yeah.
sometimes making a contact early, and then when you have to ask them something 6 months later, the fact that you've talked to them 6 months earlier makes all the difference in the world. So
Well, it does too, like for me being new as well. So now I feel like I know the process for this, and it'd be really easy for me to, pick up the phone now, call Chrissy at the, and follow the right steps. I have, the Department of Health. It's like, I just feel like now everything is right at my fingertips. So it's good. It was good. It was a good experience. I wish it had ended differently, but I did make the contacts, which I think is great for going into next spring when we can try it again. Well, thank you for trusting me with that task. I'm sorry I couldn't come to, but I tried.
It's not easy
Taking
work.
it on.
And honestly, thank you. It was
Good job.
thankless work was good. I mean, excellent,
I
excellent.
tried. I had,
Next time.
Yep, next time.
All right, does anyone else have any other questions or comments? All right, so Rockwood Road Playground update. So at our last meeting, we voted in money to resurface the playground with questions about the labor and the color. So Anne, if you want to just provide a quick update on that.
So the playground is complete. It is updated. I tried very hard to get a prison detail, but as I was trying to do that was when the outbreak of COVID was at the prison. And quite frankly, the sheriff's office, literally, I called them and said, look, you just need to tell me if you can do it, or if it's absolutely off the table, just let me know and I can make other plans. I just don't want to hear on Friday that you're not coming. Well, I just never heard it all. I mean, I called and called. So I actually got in touch with Gilly's house, and I got a couple of people from Gilly's house to help. It was, I paid them, but that's fine. And then I now know how to lay artificial turf. So I was over there working, and so we didn't save the $5,000, but we didn't have to, but she charged us less for having some workers. And then I had like one of my teachers from the remote learning center over working. And so we got it done. It looks good. That was great. The whole area was also treated with a project called Monofoil, which is a product that is approved for COVID-19. And it's really an interesting product. It's actually a product that's used at the National Institute of Health every year because it's a microbial, and it physically kills viruses and bacteria. And it was just recently approved for COVID-19. So everything was sprayed, and it stays. It doesn't go away. Eventually it will, but you can still clean and it still stays. It's really an interesting product. So does it guarantee anything? It doesn't, but it makes it that much safer. So that playground is that much safer, and it looks great. I think it really looks great. It came out well. The weather's.
Did you end up going with Ann?
It's a
remember we were discussing.
It's a beige color with a little black.
nice.
I asked her about the red and she was like, oh, you're gonna see a lot of red. And, but she had made the suggestion and I will find a picture and text it or email it to everyone. I did take a picture. I put it on our Facebook page too. I'm sure I did. Seems like a week ago, seems like so long ago now. But it came out, it really did come out very well. We also, she was also able to do some repairs at the HL of Day playground, which was great because they had some holes in their surfacing around the spinner. And she was able to replace that material with another piece of turf as well. So that was terrific.
Excellent. That
And,
kind of
and it was
ties in.
all under budget still.
Ah, that's what I like to hear.
Yeah.
So that actually ties into our next topic is the HOD playground mulching mats. You mentioned repairs over there.
So I have some good news on this. I've, after a lot of trying to get an answer, I got the okay for this expense to be under the CARES Act. Because that playground is used now where it was not used before. And the lack of, the amount of wood chips needed and the fact that there are kids out there all the time, so they can't maintain it. They need to have mats. So I will be measuring for mats and having mats put down on that playground and also the small playground at Freeman Kennedy, because that playground is also being used much more. But I did get the official approval from the person at the CARES Act that this falls under that category.
Wow. Good news.
Yeah, it's great news because it changes I can take it off our capital plan.
That is great news. Gotta love that.
It doesn't cover the mats that are needed at Pond Street, but actually that's so much less than, it's so much less. And I also, here's some also good news. So I spoke to both the facilities guy that he does all of the town, but he also does the school. And I talked to Justin at DPW. So the mat itself is about $5. And then installation, to have someone put it in, they're kind of heavy and it's about $4 per mat. But I talked to both of them about how to install them, and they both said that they could do it over a period of time. So even though we can use CARES money for it, we shouldn't, I felt like, if we can save money, we should save money and not use, we're using the CARES money because we literally couldn't afford to buy them. No one had it in their budget. So, so now we can use the CARES money to buy them, but we can install them ourselves. So I think it's just great. And Justin also said he could install them at the Pond Street playground. So that cost off our capital budget will also decrease.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions? Excuse me. Does anyone else have any questions on either that or the playgrounds? All right, so that brings us to holiday light contest. So this was something Ann had brought up to me about potentially doing. The only thing I have to add to it is I know that Lions is doing, not a contest, they were thinking about a contest, but I haven't heard anything about it, but they are doing a holiday light drive-through in a few weeks.
So I talked to Justin about doing extra trees on the town hill. We were thinking of getting, some trees and having families decorate them. And I think that eventually that is something that might work, but without knowing without being able to flag the irrigation system and do things like that, it's a little bit risky. And right now it's a little bit overwhelming. If you notice, our lights are still not on. So the lights are mostly done, but so I don't know the exact details, but from what I understand, Tree Tech, who usually puts our lights up, probably needed some more advance notice to come in. So they finally did get them in, but now with this storm this week, I don't know when they're going to be able to finish. So if I talked to Justin and I said, it's December 1st, we need to turn the lights on. So whatever isn't done will get done, but we're just going to, in another day or two, we're just going to turn them on if Tree Tech doesn't come back right away. And I am probably going to send just make a proposal, or reminder to the folks at DPW that booking things for Christmas decorations probably needs to be done 6 months in advance. I mean, I booked the library 6 months in advance for when we have the Santa parade and when we do pictures with Santa. It gets to be a busy time of the year, and Christmas is always on the same day. So we can really plan. It's not like it changes. So so I've got my fingers crossed that the lights, I know they are able to do what they're doing, one more big tree than what they usually do. So let's hope Tree Tech comes soon.
I saw them the other day putting up the lights with the,
Right.
I was
With a
running
bucket truck. Yeah.
with a bucket truck. Yeah. And, especially now, I think that the lights, like our whole neighborhood has gone like haywire with lights
Yeah.
because it's really something that's happy for the kids.
Yeah. That's why we want them on.
I know.
Yeah. So I mean, Tree Tech did most of the trees. They just have to come back to finish. So
Just turn them on without the
Right.
other.
right. So they put up, we got the town tree, the guys from DPW put that up today. So, the lights will definitely be on. I'm even hoping maybe tomorrow or the next day, even if Tree Tech doesn't come back, until another 2 or 3 days.
Like, is that something, do people complain about those kinds of things, like to the town or anything? Like, why are the
Well-
lights not on? Or if they're on and not look good? Like, I was just curious.
No one's ever complained that they don't look good. We do put a lot of lights on our trees.
I think they look
So
lovely. I'm
I
just
don't know
saying.
that they don't look good. I will say that we're really not late. It's compared to other years. We usually have the Santa parade is
It's
dictated
usually
based.
the 3rd, right, of December. I always remember with the brownies or the Girl Scouts.
Well, it's dictated by when the KP band can be here.
Yeah.
And it fluctuated back and forth for a while, but it has been the Sunday after Thanksgiving for a long time, except not the Thanksgiving weekend. So this year it would have been this coming Sunday, but this year is different because there's so little for people to do. Everyone is just wanting, we could have had those up 2 weeks ago and it wouldn't have been, it would have been fine. Everyone would have been happy. So it's times are a little bit different. So we're just going to be doing our best. But I am excited because I bought another 600 lights for the town tree. I begged the guys to put on like 2,000 lights on that tree.
That's awesome. I love it.
All right, so it sounds like the contest itself is a no-go, but we have some nice lights to look forward
Yeah,
to in the
I
near
hope
future.
so. Yeah.
No,
Oh,
my whole screen shift. There you are. All
I
right.
don't know what happened, except Charles did just email and say they're still having he's not going to be here tonight.
Okay.
All right. Does anyone else have any other questions, comments, concerns on that? All right. So Pond Street land update. So we've talked a lot about this, so just to keep it brief. We have good news. The article that we proposed ended up passing at town meeting a few weeks ago. So we now have the funding allocated from CPC to actually go ahead and purchase the land. So I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, the next step here is Cindy and Anna and myself are going to work with DCAM to get everything done that needs to get done. There's studies and different things that need to happen in order to actually complete the sale. But with authorization from town meeting, that's the longest obstacle and probably the hardest obstacle. The rest of it is just, you know, actually obtaining the documents and getting the work done. So we're on our way.
So is Cindy contacting DCAM? Like am I supposed to be doing something? What's next?
So I know she had been in contact. I think the next big thing we need to look into is this MEPA filing that we have to
Yep.
do. And Cindy had gotten the quote on that. And she had gotten the quote on the surveying. So I will need to talk to her about how to do that. I think generally she likes to do it, but
That's fine. I just
it's a
don't want,
recreation article. She might want us to do it. So I have not touched base with her on it.
okay.
So it's probably a good idea to do so. So I will make that note to do that. Figure out how she wants to approach it. I know she had done some work on it, but mainly just to get an idea of if we could lower the budget number at all before town meeting. So I will check with her on that. And I'm not sure I think in between the last time we met with Conservation Commission. I see that that was added on here. So Conservation Commission supported this. The chair, Dave Turry, spoke at town meeting in support of it, mainly for the use of passive recreation and trails. So I think we're looking forward to working with them on this. And all very exciting stuff.
I think on the agenda, it was referring to that we met with conservation regarding the Freeman Kennedy land.
Yes. So
And so we met with them, and if I remember correctly, their action item is to look at the deed and find out what the circumstances are or were regarding the donation of the land at Freeman, next to the Freeman Kennedy Fields to conservation. I have this vague recollection, and it could very much, you know, it could be wrong, that it was the land was donated by the MBTA. It wasn't donated as an endowment or as a gift from a particular person for conservation. It was just like, oh, well, we have land and we'll give it to conservation. Hopefully that's it, because then there's no, you know, I certainly don't want to infringe on someone's legacy of leaving land.
yeah, so just to summarize for the group real quick. So what the concern was, so just to recap, what we're looking to potentially do is trade some of this new land at Pond Street for a parcel that is right in the back of the soccer fields at Freeman Kennedy School. The reason being, it's more economical to build a soccer field there, not really build it, it's just extending the existing one. And it's more environmentally friendly, less trees to cut down, less of that kind of conservation land we have to disturb. So Ann and I approached the Conservation Commission about that, in the same in which they agreed to support this article. And initially their response was no. It was off the top. And the reason being is they thought that the land could only be used for conservation. So what Ann is referring to is they're going to check the terms of the deeded land and the terms of the gift to the town, and seeing whether that land is restricted for conservation or whether they could trade it to us and we could actually put something on it. That's the way I read it.
So interestingly, I was surprised when Dave had first said no, because the land behind the HL Day School, the Kunde Forest land, is also conservation land, and conservation took down trees and put a field there and so it can be done. It depends, you know, there are other circumstances. Again, if it's someone's endowment, that would be different, and I can sort of understand that. So hopefully they, you know, plus the trees, that area is flat. I think we've talked about this. The area is flat, and, you know, building a third of a soccer field, you have to cut down far fewer trees than building an entire soccer field. So their action items for their next meeting, which is December 9th, is to look up that deed. And then we can go from there. And I think when I spoke to Dave, one option was to talk about land at Pond Street, but also is if there was other land that if we could acquire other land somehow or do something for conservation, you know, what could be done as a trade. I even suggested, you know, could we build trails for them somewhere, like on other conservation land, you know, like what could be done? I mean, I'm open to anything. I don't know if that, and other people are, but I think that it would be a win-win for everyone.
Definitely a win-win, and there was, the good news is they supported us on this, and I think we can
Yeah.
kind of work on a partnership here going forward. Like I said, some initial disagreements, and I still think there's some issues to iron out in terms of Pond Street, and some of the wording that was used to describe the land and stuff like that, but we'll get there. And they seem like they're gonna kind of be supportive of this going forward. And I would also just mention, I had some conversations with some of the neighbors who had reached out to me personally, and they're very supportive. They're supportive of the land purchase, so it's good to have them in our corner going forward should we decide to do something.
Yeah. I met a nice neighbor. I had a woman who called me who wasn't sure, and she lives off of, I'm so bad with names. She lives near South Street, and she has a big farm back there. So I actually went over to her house and I brought out the maps and I showed her where the land was, and her son was there and Bobby Shannon was there. And I was really happy that I could, you know, like, it was nice. It was nice meeting them. So, and I was happy that they were interested and they were at town meeting. So that was great too.
Yep, and there were a couple people that voted against it, not many. I couldn't see who it was. They said it wasn't
Oh,
unanimous.
really?
I heard it wasn't unanimous when he called out the
Oh,
vote.
gosh, I thought it was unanimous. So, thank you for telling me that. I had a hard time hearing at town meeting.
It was. Everyone was trying to talk through masks and into a microphone that was covered in a bag, and it was definitely interesting. But
Yeah, I definitely had a hard time hearing.
well,
I did want to just mention one thing is Grace from the Norfolk Rentham Times had reached out to me, and I'm going to be she's asked if I would talk to her about the 43 acres, and she said she's going to be talking to other people as well, but she asked me if I could talk to her as well first. So I said I'd be happy to.
excellent. There should be another good article for us. We had that. For those that don't remember, we put together a press release on the field renovations we recently did, and that got put into one of the recent papers. So some good publicity for us. I think people are appreciative of all the good work we're doing to keep the fields up to date. So, all right, on that topic, any more questions, comments, concerns? All right, so field maintenance update. So there is something Ann wants to go over in terms of the field policy, but just real quick on the maintenance piece. So I met with baseball a couple weeks ago, or I participated in baseball's meeting, and they brought in to that meeting Jeff Boyle, who is the person that STS recommended to us as the best person to, speaking of the field renovations we did, to keep our investments in that field renovations and come in and maintain the fields on a recurring basis. So baseball is working on scoping that out. As we speak, they were supposed to meet with them and walk the fields themselves to kind of work it out with them. I'm not sure if they ended up doing that. And at the same time, they're exploring adding advertisements to Pond Street. We had talked about the banners and the banner program. So they've gotten a group of guys together who, and actually I think there are some females involved as well, some mothers who are involved in getting together the list of sponsors, and they're going to put together a more formal fundraising program utilizing that space at Pond Street. I gave them the restrictions that we've set forth in the bylaws. I think they have some interest in changing it, so they might start an effort on that at some point in the future. But the only thing I told them is follow those guidelines and please just send it to Ann and myself so we can review with the commission just briefly what the advertisements that are going to be going up on there. I'm not particularly concerned, but I also don't want to just hand over the reins completely to them. So that's good news on that front. The only two questions they had for us as a commission, they wanted to see if softball was interested, which that might be more of something we could approach offline. And they wanted to know if we would be able to purchase the material. I know that Jeff said that sometimes towns get better deals because they can buy it in bulk or get some sort of,
I think we could definitely do that. I mean, the infield mix is not inexpensive. Truckload of infield mix, which is like 30 tons. It's not quite $2,000, but it's,
right. And
I
then
think
he
it makes
said-
much more sense for us to get it and have it delivered. I can have it done immediately and
Well, and that's what Jeff was saying. He said his biggest cost is materials, so his labor is
Yeah.
pretty predictable. So if they have to fill the mounds or fill bigger holes, it's more material, it costs them more. So he said a lot of times the towns like to supply it to save some cost.
well, it actually makes a lot of sense, especially if baseball's picking up the labor.
Yeah, so I think that might be a good way to go for it. So that's it on the field maintenance piece. So I think they were gonna start a little bit less frequent, kind of try it out a couple times a year, maybe beginning, middle, end, or beginning, end, or middle.
Are they going to do anything now to a field so it opens in April?
I can
That would
speak,
be
I can
a
speak
good
to
idea.
them. I can speak to them about that. I know that they were, I just have to, I don't know how their finances look for this year because of the COVID stuff, but I will check with them on that. But definitely making some headway on that topic.
Okay, it's just always such a rush to try to open fields in April and they're very wet and you can't get on them and everything else. And the weather right now has actually been holding out, knock on wood, man. It's really nice. I did want to just add a couple of things to the field maintenance. We usually put tarps down. So we've had a lot less use of fields. So I think the only tarps, I'm going to walk the fields, but if we put tarps down, we probably will not put them on the main fields. We'll put them on field. I suspect that field J may need one in the center. And also we had the very broken irrigation system. So the right field of the Babe Ruth field became very dry and burned out. So we did reseed that. I have not walked it since we reseeded it about 3 weeks ago. So I'm going to probably try, I'm going to get over there this week and see. I don't know if that a tarp will really help. So I'm going to go and look. I mean, there's, as much as I love using the tarps, there's not a point in using them just to use them. I mean, they can be a nuisance. I appreciate the fact when DPW does do them, I appreciate them doing it, but I also know that there's going to be a nice return in their time for using their time. It's going to make a difference. And if it's not going to make a difference, I'm not going to have them do it just to do it. It doesn't make sense. And then the other thing that we need to do is move the goals off the fields, which we didn't do last year. So we're going to do it this year, but we're going to do it this year.
Okay, did you want to mention the field policy?
Yeah, so I sent everyone a copy and I did it just before the meeting. What I had changed, I put everything in sort of a brighter blue. Under the portable toilet fee structure, I did add a note, due to the pandemic, portable toilet fees have increased significantly due to necessary maintenance. Therefore, fees will be adjusted accordingly at the time. And I did that because we had to pay a lot more for portable toilets this year. I mean, it was just like, it was easily double the price. And, it was just, the fees, what people were paying weren't covering what we were paying, but what could we do? And we actually, both Kathy and I also ended up disinfecting them on certain days because we just couldn't keep spending the money to do it. So I added that. And then sort of most importantly, I added under the field, like when not to use a field and field closures. That's the biggest area that I changed. It's on page 6. And I did that because there was a soccer organization and 10-year-olds playing soccer, and it rained all day. And they felt that based on the guidelines that were in our policies, they did not feel that the field was soaking wet. I mean, but when I walked on it, I could hear it. I could hear, you can hear the squish. So this is my first pass on it, but what I tried to do in this is to explain to people in this policy what to look for. I don't think they used the field, the person making the decision about using the field did so thinking that he was hurting the field. I really don't think he realized. And I thought, well, you know what? That means I can do a better job explaining what needs to be considered. So that's what I tried to do. So I added something that wasn't in there before. And it said, as a guideline, do not use the fields when it is raining steadily or has just finished raining steadily. Grass that has been soaked through to the roots does not hold up well to use, especially with cleats. And I tried to explain that. Also, I said, look, when he was talking about the field, when I went down, because I got a call saying, there are people playing soccer. And I'm like, what? You've got to be kidding me. And they were looking at like the side of the field. Well, the side of the field where very few people run around is not the concern. The concern is the middle of the field and the field goal, the goal mouths. So again, I put that in the policy. I'm just trying to make it so that doesn't happen again.
So Anne, I like the policy. I think it's good to have in there. 2 comments or questions on it. Number 1, do you think it's worth adding something baseball centric in there too? I'm thinking this is very soccer centric and mentioning goals. I like something about infields being soaked and not being able to properly dry them or something.
I mean, infield mix,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
It's just because, it covers all sports.
Yep, I was
And
absolutely
softball
thinking.
as well. Just so they have something in there about that, so they can't say it's not in there.
Yeah,
Then I know the other thing we talked about with the policy in general, we talked at a previous meeting about putting something in there to give us more flexibility to lower or raise fees depending on the amount of
Yes.
people who use the fields.
So I did not make that change. What it says now, it's $30 per player who live in Norfolk, Rentham, and Plainville, or $40 per player who lives in any other towns. And then the summer season, that probably needs to be changed to, again, this year was so different. I mean, and baseball didn't pay $10 a player because their summer season wasn't 6 weeks. It was a whole fall season. And they were great about it. I mean, like they realized it's not what it usually is. So I could think about how to reword that, or if someone else has suggestions, that would be great too. I did make some changes to the actual application on the last page that I wanted to point out, and some of those, so this didn't, so I need to do this in a PDF. So this didn't, the format isn't great, but I'll fix that. So I did ask, I asked, is your organization a 501c3? And I said, if so, please supply registered name, if other than the regular name. And I did that because of the issue that we had with Millis flag football, frankly. I want to know, and it makes a difference if they're a 501c3 or not. And then I also added the total number of players in your organization. And then of these players, how many or what percentage are from Norfolk and KP towns? And then I asked, are other organizations associated with your organization practicing or scrimmaging on Norfolk fields with your teams? Because I think that you could have you can be inviting Plainville teams to be practicing with you and they're not paying anything, but all of a sudden you've got double the amount of players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was, I think we had talked about the wording around the fee. There was something like the Recreation Commission maintains discretion to evaluate fees based on amount of players used, times per week used, whether you're practicing playing games. I'd have to go back and look at what the exact wording was.
Yep.
But there was
We
something we
did.
discussed at a prior meeting that we wanted.
And
to
it was about the number of times they use, because soccer, a lot of people, they practice 1 hour, they play 1 hour. But then there's some like baseball or softball, and I'm not, it's not every team, but sometimes they're playing 4 or 5 times a week. And it doesn't seem quite right that someone who's playing 4 or 5 times a week is paying the same amount as someone playing twice a week. And then I did make a change to the, again, this is smaller, to the portable toilet fee users. Because again, if people are using the, if you have someone at the fields 5 times a week, I put the wording in that's 5 users. It can be the same person. I mean, I'm charging portable toilet fees, and I want to know how many people are using them every week so I can maintain healthy portable toilets and I can have the right amount. There's a big difference if you have 100 people in your organization and you're there twice a week versus if you have 100 people in your organization and you're there 5 times a week. So I'm just trying to come up with ways to, to be able to provide clean portable toilets.
Absolutely. All right. Does anyone else have any other questions or concerns on that topic? I think those are good changes to the policy. All right. So that brings us to the last few items on the agenda. So CPC updates. So real quick, the 2 items I put on there. The first is the Metacomic Greenway. So a few quick updates on that. So I think the big one being, unfortunately, since the last time we spoke, the owner of that parcel of land that we keep talking about has passed away.
Yeah, Mary Gould, poor Mary.
So we are now talking about dealing with an estate and that property. But it's unfortunate, it's a big loss for the town with everything Mary did for the town. So very unfortunate news. But in the interim, Cindy from CPC did make contact with the realtor of the property finally. In summation, the realtor was and the 2 options that were presented were to either get an easement on the property or to purchase the property outright. Bearing in mind that I can't release publicly what the appraisal of the land was, but it is not close to what was the asking price. Of those options, the realtor really preferred the purchasing direction because having an easement on the property would lower the value of it for anyone that wants to buy the land. So essentially what was asked was for the CPC to write up a proposal for the property, why we want to use it, how it will be used. It's kind of like a plan. And then he would take that item to the proper representatives. And I know I just saw yesterday, I think Cindy's working on getting new appraisals on the property as well, just to have an updated value. So we should have some more information on that shortly. And I believe that the group itself, I did miss the last couple meetings because I've just had a bunch of work stuff to do. I'm pretty sure the group itself, the Greenway group, reached out to trail neighbors via a mailer to introduce themselves, introduce the ideas, and I believe they hosted a first public Q&A session a few weeks or a couple days ago actually, or last week or something like that, to start answering some questions for people on what the plan is and what they're looking to do. So definitely starting to make some forward progress on that. And I think Rentham approved a feasibility study too, off the top of my head, I think. So definitely some action occurring across the board on that. So does anyone have any questions and comments on that?
I'm sorry, who approved the feasibility study?
Rentham.
Rentham. I bet you said ransom.
Rentham. And I think Rentham, sorry. And I think Rich McCarthy has prepared a scope of work for a feasibility study in Norfolk. And I think he's going to be approaching CPC about that to try to start funding that and moving forward in that direction.
Yeah.
All right. And then 373 Main Street. So I'm going to try to do a screen share here. I'm having a problem with my Google. Maybe I can try Internet Explorer. Maybe that'll work. Real quick.
Can you email it to me? I can probably share the screen.
I got it here. So I'm going to, how can I, and I think you need to enable it for me.
I do. I have to tell you, I don't see under more.
I think if you, it's under, I think if you click on screen share, there's an option to do it. To enable it.
Yeah.
Photos, iCloud, it looks like it's giving me options of what? Microsoft SharePoint? It's what I would have, what I would access.
Well, you might be able to click next to my name and give me permission to do it.
Okay, that's. Okay, well, I made you co-host, so maybe that helped.
Yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, okay.
Did that work?
It did.
Okay.
Okay. All right, can everyone see my screen?
It's thinking still. Yep. Now you can see it.
The map I have up here?
Mhm.
All right, so I was very confused. You can see I'm missing this whole bar up here. It's really a pain in the butt. So I've been confused on this over and over again. So I recently did a site walk with CPC of this whole property. So I got a good idea of what we're talking about for a proposal. I don't know where it's going to go. I think we're still waiting on some more information. But so this is the home and the piece of property, this shape here, that is under consideration to purchase. This parcel here is a parcel that the town already owns. So there's a little road. I actually walked after this. I went with one other member of the CPC to walk this piece that we already own because I hadn't seen it. And I actually met the owners. They were really, the previous owners, they were very nice. So we have a little access road here, and then we own all this back here. And then this would be the house or the property in question. So if I just put this on a satellite view, it's just a lot of woods. And then this is Main Street here. So this is Franklin, like Acorn Animal Hospital is right here. So this is right on the border of the town. And if I zoom in a little bit, the access road is right here. You can see this little road. This is where we parked. And then we walked all the way back in here. So sort of the value in the property is that it touches the already town-owned land. So it kind of gives you a little horseshoe around the pond here. You know, and I wasn't on CPC when we purchased this land, and they had said that they really mainly purchased it for recreation.
They did.
And the potential to build back there, which obviously with the Pond Street project now underway, I think that's our preference to explore that. But in talking with that member, though, you know, it's a weird spot to put fields with just this path. But the one thing we did talk about is potentially you have an entrance or exit here. You could have a, you know, parking lot and a field back here, and then you could have an exit or entrance over here, because there really was not enough space on this side to build
So
the two.
can I just interject here? Because I mean, the area that you're pointing to is very large trees near the water. The area that was being looked at for fields was closer to the Vazella's home and back. So it's the further side toward Franklin of the
Like
property
over
that
here.
we
This is the
purchased.
home, so like over here.
Yeah, it's right back there. It's much flatter. It's the trees there, even though they look as dense as the other trees. It's a much newer forest. It's much flatter. The area over right really behind Comey's Pond over here, it's very much on a slope. If I remember correctly, there's a much more of a slope, and the trees are much larger and older.
Yeah, so I didn't walk over here. I don't know. I wasn't involved, so I don't know how far over it goes. But we walked this when I walked it with him. We walked here, and we walked up, and we stood up in the train tracks here and looked
Yeah.
back. And then we
And
walked
were
back
you
and-
looking down? You were looking down, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was reasonably flat, but there was definitely an uphill movement this
so
way. But
right
some of it's
where you-
artificial because of the rail bed here. So
Yeah. So the line that you're drawing from Comey's Pond to the track right there, just looking at a screen, to the left of that, it's flatter. As you go right, it becomes more sloped. It's rocky. It's more natural. It's just a different, it's an much older forest. But I think we were really only talking at the time about the possibility of putting like a softball field or a couple of softball fields at the time they were talking. But honestly, it was never a high priority for, and I had said that about using it for fields. The reason one of the primary driving factors, they bought that land for a little over $200,000, I think. It was not a lot of money.
yeah.
And it was a lot less than the initial asking price of like $750,000.
Yeah, so I just wanted to get that out in front of everyone. I mean, I don't think anything's going to be moving on it anytime soon, but given the potential recreational value that they were discussing, I wanted to just bring that forward. I'm not sure if this 373 Main Street property offers any value of that other than like we were talking about providing a secondary exit.
But that's a huge value to have parking.
It is. I mean, because this area over here wasn't really, I mean, you can see it's not really big.
And it's a terrible site. The site exit to the main road is not good. It's very narrow.
It is. So you vision either maybe a horseshoe or even
Yeah.
like just one entrance and exit, because this is big enough for an entrance and exit over here.
That it would,
big enough
I
front.
think that's what it would have to be. I think putting a road through there would be.
Right. So the property itself, I mean, they're going to look into, affordable housing as a potential use for it. I know some developers had looked at it before. But in terms of the actual structure on the property, it's going to have to be torn down. It's kind of beyond repair.
That's too bad. It looked like it was really a nice house at one point.
It does. And one of the newest member of the CPC is actually Sam Ziegler.
Oh,
who
yeah.
Does all the historical restorations.
Yeah.
He walked the property separately from me. I went on another weekend and I think they all agreed. It's not something that money should be put into.
Yeah.
So, and there's quite a bit of stuff on the property that we talked about. If we were going to buy it, there would have to be a cleanup fee. There was a trailer and just kind of stuff that the family has put there over the years that would need to be removed. But just wanted to get that in front of everyone, just in case it comes up and they comment on what we feel about it as a Recreation Commission, because I think we're one of the two groups that they're going to be looking to on this property. So, any other comments, questions, concerns on that?
Do you know the total acreage?
Not off the top of my head. I have the form at my house. I've been meaning.
Okay, I can.
Yeah.
Kind of curious.
It wasn't big. It wasn't huge. I mean, we walked the whole thing corner to corner. It's sort of a triangular shape.
Yeah, no, this is like at least the second, if not the third time it's come up to CPC before, and
Yes.
and honestly, the same issues. The trailers are there. house isn't worth saving. Except before the woman who owned the house was still alive, which always makes a difference.
I think she is still.
Is she still alive?
I don't want to say yes or no, but I think he said his mom was still around. So,
Well, I hope so I hope so.
so, all right, I will stop my screen share now. All right, so if there are no other questions or concerns on that, is there anything else, unanticipated business that folks would like to discuss, bring up in the meeting?
I just wanted to touch upon the Eagle Scout project. I had sent out I had blind copied everyone on a proposal or question about putting in the little libraries at the parks. And from the people I heard from, one thought it was a good idea. The others did not really. Not that anyone wanted to say like flat out no. Sorry, I just got a message, a flat out no to Eagle Scouts. So I actually did a little research. I Googled, because I know little libraries are great. I mean, like I've seen them in Ann Arbor and different places, and there's a new one up on Town Hill for Gretchen Sullivan. So I Googled the little libraries near here, and lo and behold, in 2015, Eagle Scout put a little library up in Plainville, at the Plainville playground. And he built it in 2015. And by last year, 2019, it had been vandalized. They had to pick up books regularly, and to the point that it was torn down last year. So it lasted 4 years from conception to build to being destroyed and being torn down. So I think that location is really key. And as much as I like little libraries, and I think that if like we ever built Peace Park, I think a little library it's the ideal place. I think Hillcrest Village, for the folks at Hillcrest Village, a little library would be wonderful. Those folks can't, those people are probably the people that really do have a struggle getting to the library, even though the library isn't far. So I went back to the Eagle Scout and suggested those places, and also Scylla's. And I am trying to get him a number because it's private property by Scylla's, of someone to call to talk about that. But my concern definitely at Pond Street, I mean, nothing that is small and, if it can be destroyed, it's going to be destroyed. I mean, it's, it is. Like things, there's even, there's a sledgehammer that got put through the shed, it's still there. I mean, it's so, and I don't think anyone wants to see someone spend time on a project to have it wrecked. So I just think they're better locations. And as much as I would like to think that people at playgrounds would be respectful of books, I mean, I pick up trash on a regular basis because people can't get their trash in the barrel. So I can very much see, books being taken out and left out. And then, that's exactly what I was afraid would happen when I got the email back from the Plainville Rec Department. It was exactly what happened there. It was great, for probably the first year, but, I don't really want to have books left out in the rain and then I'm throwing away books. I would feel terrible. I don't want to do that. Like, that's not a good feeling. But I do think they're probably good places to have these.
Yeah,
So
my thing on it
hoping-
was, the only thing I didn't want to do was outright say no and call it a day. It's a community thing. So I think by helping him, suggesting locations and helping him get a number, I think that's a probably helpful thing. I didn't think to do it. I'm not surprised that he would take the suggestion. I'm sure he just thought, like anyone off the top of his head, that might be a good spot to do it. But
I can absolutely understand why someone would think that the pavilion at Pond Street would be a good place for it. I absolutely understand why someone would think that. But then I wanted to say, we also had a bubbler there that was vandalized so many times. And after spending $3,000 or $4,000 to fix it over the period of years, that got taken down. I mean, they vandalize everything that's small and can be destroyed. So,
Yeah, and I think a place where people, like you said, at the would you say the Highland, where is the area you were discussing?
oh,
Not Highland.
Highland,
Like,
Hillcrest Village?
yes, Hillcrest Village. Oh my God. I wanted to say Highland Lake when you said that.
I think that's like a perfect spot. I mean, or because the problem is you put it at Pond Street, you put it at a playground. It's just, that's too chaotic. I'm a mom. I go there with my kids. The kids are like, oh, let's get a book. And then it's like, you're not even paying attention to the kids. You don't know what, it's too zooey, I think.
Yeah.
So
And I can so see it. And you've got a 5-year-old who doesn't want to not hold the book while he's running around. And
Right.
like you're at a playground and you don't want to have a fight with your 5-year-old about holding a book. Like,
No, I agree. 100%. And I think that, you think about places of quiet that parents like myself would love to say, let's walk down to Scylla's and get a hot chocolate and get one of the books
yeah,
because it's sort of a different feeling than going to the playground. And I think
Yeah.
that is really important. And I think you were right on with that. That's just my opinion as a busy mom, but I think that was a very good opinion.
well, thank you. I mean, really, no one wants to see an Eagle Scout, someone do a good job on an Eagle Scout project and have someone else wreck it. It's like, no one wants to see that. And
Wanted an Eagle Scout to put something in a place that might not be successful for
yeah,
or to look at in a few
yeah.
Oh, they
It's
did
also-
anything like that would stink.
Yeah, I also have to say, it's not the best timing to put a little library up because even the library are quarantining books. And I mentioned that to the Eagle Scout and he said, well, you can just put hand sanitizer out. And I was like, yeah. But hopefully this too will pass. And, and maybe by the time he gets it done, it isn't going to be such a concern. Let's hope.
There's actually somebody in my neighborhood that has one in their front yard, right on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
My girlfriend loves it. She loves books. So every time
Yeah, no, something like that is perfect though, because you've got eyes on it. So
Yeah.
at Pond Street, you don't have eyes on it. There isn't someone there all the time. If my office was there, I would say go for it. But I should say that, but at Plainville, it's right outside their office and they still got destroyed. So. And in Ann Arbor, I have to say they're painted all different colors and designs and stuff, and they're really nice. And they add a lot. And there's always fun books in them.
I think like somewhere near Scylla's would be perfect. It'd be a great draw for the local business too. Like, hey,
Yeah.
let's go look and sit with our hot cocoa. I just can see it. That's something that I would do with my daughter.
Yeah, I'm hoping that the land across the street, I guess it's Stop and Shop land. So it's private land, but maybe they'll agree to it.
All right,
No, I don't think they're going to do anything else there.
Yeah. What did they do there? What is the point of that?
I don't know. I was told a long time ago, I have no idea if this is correct, that basically Stop and Shop bought the land not with the intent of building a market, but with the intent of stopping anyone else from building a market.
Which totally stinks. Wouldn't it be great to have like a little Whole Foods there, a little Brothers Market?
Yeah. Or a soccer field.
that would be a fun location.
or a park.
An indoor field hockey turf? Just
Yeah.
something like a big bubble enclosed.
Yeah. Oh, I actually was looking at the cloth buildings. Have you ever seen those? I don't know if you can see this. They put, let's see. Can you?
Lift it up higher.
Yeah.
Lift it up higher.
Oh,
You
yeah.
gotta keep talking.
Can you see it?
You gotta keep talking.
Oh, So
There you go.
it's a cloth or it's a plastic building basically, but that's what they used in Walpole for the fire station, temporary fire station. But they use it for horseback riding arenas and, you know, all sorts of stuff. So I'm trying to think of all, you know, trying to think outside the box, right?
All right. Does anyone else have anything else to add? Comments, questions, concerns on that topic, anything? All right. So I thank everyone for keeping it concise. We had a very big agenda tonight, a lot to discuss, and we got through it all in pretty
3
good time.
pages.
So I'm pretty happy about that. So just that next meeting. So I guess the big question is, do we want to meet one more time before the new year, or do we want to, or do you think we're set to push it off into January? So
I'm gonna just throw this out there. So I think, as you probably remember, my mother-in-law passed away fairly recently.
Yep.
And there were a couple of funerals in the family. Unfortunately, Rich's aunt and cousin both got COVID, and Rich's aunt passed away today. So I have not seen them for quite some time, but there is definitely, you know, it's just it, you know, for everyone, it's just endless. It just seems endless. My daughter is scheduled to come home this Christmas. My daughter just, who works for the CDC, just got a job at Partners in Health in Boston. The offices are closed, so it's virtual, but she was coming up here with her family to look for homes and things. But with the COVID numbers increasing, I'm feeling, I think as a family, we're starting to talk about how we can make this work. And I think we are going to be coming to the agreement that we are all going to get tested, and then we're all going to quarantine before we are together. So it doesn't mean that I'm not working, but it means that I'll be working from home. And just to be, I just have to be careful. I mean, we just, you know, I can't even, like, I saw Aunt Teresa, you know, 6 weeks ago, and, you know, she's 85 years old in little kitty cat heels and dancing around because she's like, you know, full of energy, and, you know, and now she's not alive. I mean, it's just what this can do. I mean, she was older, but she had no underlying health issues. So I think we're just feeling that we need to be very careful. So I could probably do a Zoom meeting, but I will be working from home for most likely for a couple of weeks.
I mean, my opinion, and Ann, I'm sorry to hear about all that. It's just,
Well, it's everywhere you turn. I mean, it's just, I can't even, like, I talked to a mom today, like, she found out her daughter was considered a close contact. She found out a week after they had been exposed, and the mom is a cancer survivor. It's like, how the inherent, there's something inherently wrong with the system. I mean,
yeah,
just too hard.
my girlfriend teaches, she teaches infants, 9 months to 2 years, and same thing, they had a baby and they found out, I think it was almost over a week after, like, and it turned out there wasn't really an issue, but I'm like, at this point, I'm like, it's just, forget about it.
Yeah, you just, everywhere you turn, it's just.
So, I feel, in terms of the meeting, nothing we discussed tonight seems to be urgent or something that needs to be resolved before the holidays. So I would say to maybe push it into January. I think we've all worked really hard this year. I think the first, you know, since the election and having this new commission, I think it's one of the best we've had, if not the best. So I'm tempted to just let the rest of the month go by and let people enjoy the time and reconvene in January. So unless anyone has any objection to that or something comes up in between, I would suggest probably maybe January 5th, January 6th for the next meeting.
Yep.
Just make sure that Come at the right one.
I already know I'm not available on the 5th or the 6th. I apologize. I have to have a test done, so I am out of commission for those 2
No,
days.
that's all right. You know, I would almost rather wait till the 12th. I think that first week back, people might have a lot to do. So, and I don't want to do the first day back. So maybe January 11th and that Monday.
That would be great for
we
me.
could- And I know, Mark, you usually have to do 7:30 on Mondays, right?
Yeah, just so, well, really honestly, if you want to do 7:15, that's fine. I'll just switch off from one meeting to the other, but yeah, 7:30 is usually my, oops, there we go. So on the Monday, the 11th at 7:30?
Yep.
Okay, yep, that'll be
All right
fine.
with that? And do you think
I'm
that?
fine with whatever you want to do. Like,
All right, let's do that. And if something comes up that urgently and that you need a vote on, just let us know. We can convene like we did last time for a couple minutes and make a vote. Or if we find that there's a lot going on this month, that
Okay.
we need to discuss, we can schedule something. I mean, it's still about a month away. It's usually about what we do anyway, because we're
Yeah.
meeting in December instead of, you know.
I
November.
mean, I will say Christmas, we do have the remote learning, but because Christmas is a Friday, the town hall's closed Thursday and Friday, both of those weeks, which immediately shortens everything.
I'll just say if you need something, like just let us know, because that's pretty easy to, hop on something quickly.
Yeah, so if there's something we need to do, we can do it, but
All right.
beyond that, I don't know if it's really necessary, so. All right, so I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, and I will formally adjourn the meeting at 8:21 PM.